Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Edison Township Municipal Council Work Session Meeting, August 26th, 2019. Everybody please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for passing of father of Linda Karabanchak and father-in-law of Assemblyman Rob Karabanchak. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Coyle. Here. Councilmember Deal. Here. Councilmember Gomez. Councilmember Joshi.
Present.
Councilmember Lombardi.
Here.
Councilmember Patil.
Here.
Councilmember Sandelsky.
Here.
Adequate notice.
Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975 has been provided by an annual notice sent to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, on December 1st, 2018, and posted main lobby municipal complex on that same date.
Moving on to the oral petitions and remarks. Maria, okay.
Hi, Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. One thing I wanted to talk about is the horrendous condition of our parks. I know we were under improvement. It's just sad that it's the summertime and the schools are closed currently, and the children can't enjoy the parks because they're under construction. There was a timeline that was posted onto the website. At one point, it said the dirt was supposed to be removed by August 5th, and it was still there. Just a reminder, September 4th, the schools are opening, so please drive safely. Don't be in a rush. I know now that schools aren't open, there's no traffic. But come September 4th, it's going to be busy. Do we have a street sweeper? Because I went through the sewers to make sure the sewer line, like the covers, were clear, and I didn't know if we have some type of a schedule for street sweepers. I haven't seen one lately. We're very disappointed that there is no farmers market. Still, some residents were asking, and I said, because we don't have a farmer, there's no farmers market. The farmers market is an integral part of our community. There's other vendors and there's other groups that come to the farmers market, and since there was no farmers, can't have a farmers market. So there are a lot of people that this has been impacted, such as we didn't have our peach pie contest this year, and some of the area nonprofits weren't able to reach out to the communities. Fall Family Festival is coming up on September 28th. So we're looking for vendors and different people to sign up, nonprofits or any school groups to sign up for the fall vendors. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Any updates on the parks? Because this is a
Yes, and, you know, just a general comment regarding the timeline. You are correct. The timeline that was provided to us by the contractor was not met, and there are several other timelines that have not been met with this project. Part of the timeline that, or the reasons for the timeline not being met were legitimate, in my mind. Had to do with weather. There has been a lot of rain this past summer that has slowed the progress, as well as poor soil conditions in the area. One aspect that a lot of people in the general public don't understand is that the Edison is bound by the state laws regarding bidding, and as such, Edison cannot enter into types of contracts in such a way to compel contractors to behave in a more timely manner, as easily as you would in a private sector. But that said, the progress is moving along, and there are items of non-compliance and punch list items that have to be completed. The contractor, I was in an email chain today, the contractor is aware of these, and we, as the engineer, only recommend payment for the project when it is properly completed, not before. And to that would be the best update I can supply at this time.
Thank you. A quick question, follow-up question on that. There are emails floating around and there are Facebook posts around. Yes, the completion of the park is one thing, but the quality of the work was also brought into the discussion. So my question is, do we inspect that before releasing the payment? You know how that process is? Like, do we have the punch list?
Absolutely. So some of the, there were many parks in this project. So I can just say that our inspector in our firm will not recommend payment for work that's not 100% complete and proper, only for work that's 100% complete. So, there are, without a doubt, there's items of, there's incomplete items. I read some emails today about some fasteners not being completed. There was also some soil runoff on one of the parks as well. And again, all those items will be completed properly prior to the contractor being recommended payment
Thank you.
for those items.
Hopefully this answers your question. Thank you.
Council Vice President, just Mike, we had talked about this before, that there's ruts in some of the parks where the trucks were in the grass, piles of dirt. In some of the parks where the port in place was put in place, there was stakes still in there. I mean, there was the yellow caution tape still around it. But it was disappointing, like I told you, for the residents not to be able to use the thing the whole summer. And, when they live close by parks and they moved close to the parks so they can use the parks and they don't have it. But some of the residents posted also on Facebook that they know that the better day is coming when they're going to have a park that's a nice, beautiful park to use. And I think that's the most important thing. But we got to make sure that they get this thing done and get after these guys to make sure that it's completed now before the end of the fall,
Yes, again, we deal with contractors across many municipalities, and so we are familiar with the challenges that are before a municipality to compel a contractor to do a timely project. It has been my professional experience that it is easier for a municipality to obtain a complete and proper construction than it is to complete it in a timely manner. So I can say I'm very confident that the public will be very satisfied once the parks are completed, but the timeline is something that's very difficult to control.
Could you try and get us somewhat of a revised update for Wednesday's meeting so we have an idea of when those parks will be done?
Yes, I'll have the contractor supplies with the latest schedule and, emphasizing the concern of the public as well.
Okay, thank you.
I also want to follow up on this too. With the parks, I think it's clear that none of us are satisfied with the timeline of this. But how many parks are being worked on by this one particular contractor? And do you know how many employees they have in total?
Just 1 second, sir.
Okay.
There are 8 parks in total, and in terms of the number of employees, I do not have a number to give you at this time, but I could get that for you by Wednesday.
Okay. So I know that, I understand, And I think this is a problem with contractors in general. It's as if weather is just not factored into their timeline, you know? And I don't think that's fair to anyone in the town. But I think it's something to be very mindful of moving forward when we start a project right at the, you know, end of spring or early spring rather, when we have a timeline that looks perhaps too great to be true, or in this case it wasn't, it was an average one. Because I've been to certain, I've seen parks, I've walked to them myself, and it's a beautiful day and no one's working on them. You know, I've gone to 3 different parks and there's no one working on it. That's why I question how many people are working at these contractor companies. And I know we have to go based off the state guidelines for when we pick, but it just seems that the taxpayers really got screwed, to say the least, this summer, at least the kids. I saw this one video where someone posted on Facebook Live, his girl actually walked up. That's the one it was pretty sad. She actually walked up to the park, and then the father was like, no, you can't. And she actually turned around really sad. It's just unfortunate that we have parks that we're working on right now that miss that timeline. But that's, all right, it's just something to keep in mind moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. I'm off the list. Anyone? Yes, Mr. Bruce Diamond?
Bruce Diamond, 74 Calvert. Couple things. Item number C under Department of Law, the 100 and, I don't know, maybe it's 140,000 to Mott McDonald to get some status on the water system, I guess. Who's paying for that? Or is it the residents of South Edison? I don't know that I should pay for it. I pay Middlesex Water for any improvements to my water.
This resolution is just to get us authorization. We're working on the financing part of it at a later date, but eventually it will be the 12,000 customers.
Okay. Second question, between you doing, that showing up on this and item J, the township establishing a Department of Sewer and Water. So I assume the town is now getting ready in preparation of the referendum passing?
Correct.
Well, considering how many people signed that petition, I think you all ought to reconsider your position, save the town $100,000, reopen the resolution, and vote to accept the deal that we're not going to have Suez, and you're going to go with it. We're investing all this money. What do you think? You're starting to look like Jerry Shee the way you're standing there saying nothing, Council
Right now,
Council
this is
President.
a public election. It's a date is announced. I don't
So we
think
could
this
skip
council-
it, if you just vote, bring it up for a vote again and
It's already on
vote
the
for it.
ballot. It's already on the ballot. I
It
don't
doesn't
think this-
matter. You could end that squeamishness of everybody and just figure out how to pass it, and we save the town the aggravation.
I respect your opinion, Mr. Diamond, but law is law. The ballot is there. The question is on the ballot.
Can we
Election is
ask the attorney, please?
The council president is correct. It's already on the ballot.
But does that mean they could not reopen the question and vote to accept the fact that Suez is out and we're going to take it in town?
It's already on the ballot. so
I
it needs to
understand
proceed.
that's not what I'm asking respectfully. If one of them wanted to bring up a resolution for Wednesday night, could they readdress this?
I believe no.
No?
I believe not.
Well, you can reverse other resolutions you've passed in the past.
All right, but this one is, the approval was to have this as a question referendum to the public. So that is what is proceeding.
But the public obviously overwhelmingly doesn't want Suez, so why can't the council readdress it and end this
Well, that's the whole
nonsense?
purpose of the referendum.
Ah, I see. Okay. Last thing is the vacating of Monday Street. I am not equipped to speak on behalf of Walt. He'll be here Wednesday night, but he did send letters to the council. I don't know, did you all get the two letters?
I mean, I spoke with you, Mr.
Right.
Donovan, regarding this, and, you know, and I also spoke with Councilman Deal, who I know spoke with Walt Stoschel personally, and I think it was going to be both my and Councilman Deal's recommendation that this ordinance be tabled for purposes of tonight, to possibly look into other uses of the Mundy Avenue.
Great, because again, I'm not equipped to explain Walt's vision, but when you listen to him at an open space meeting, and y'all are welcome to come, it's September 5th in the Edison Conference Room upstairs, and I'm sure Walt would adjust the agenda to bring bicycles and walking paths up first, so you guys with busy schedules can disappear after 20 minutes. Thanks.
Council President, I did speak with the mayor on this yesterday. There is a little, I won't say a little, there's some question as to the best way to move forward with this. The position of the Open Space Committee, and it is not a new position, is that this area, at least a portion of it, would be utilized as a walking or a bike path for the residents that live behind this property, so that, let's say in the case of school children going to Menlo Park School, they don't have to walk 3/4 of a mile in a loop to get to the same spot. They would, basically, it would be a pathway to James Street. That makes a lot of sense to me. I spoke with Councilman Lombardi today. I'm going to recommend that we table this and look at that in the hope that we can ultimately end up with some type of walkway or pathway or bikeway. Maybe not utilizing the whole property, because there's more property than you need for the path, but certainly putting in a path that would enable people to come directly from the residents that live behind the property to James Street without going, I can't even tell you how far it is, but it's a huge loop on a busy street where we would be putting the kids on Grove, or the pedestrians or the cyclists on Grove, when we wouldn't need to. So anyway, that's going to be my recommendation for Wednesday night, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? Ms. Hester?
Esther Nemitz, 162B Fay Street. I want to thank Bruce for bringing this up. Walter wanted us to read out loud the letter that he has written. I made a copy of all of the information that he sent to us and gave a copy to the clerk's office so that they could make copies of everything, including the maps that he sent, so that you would all have it before Wednesday night. But I do want to read his letter for the record. Dear council members, the Edison Township Open Space Advisory Committee objects to the proposed vacation of Mundy Avenue between James Street and Freeman Street, as in the proposed ordinance that is on the agenda for the August 26th council meeting. In April 2016, the committee objected to the same proposal, and the council took no action and should take no action now. In our letter of April 13th, 2016, the committee stated that by closing Monday, it would cut off the Freeman Avenue neighborhood from a direct walking route to Menlo Park School, and was part of the 2014 NJDOT Transportation Alternatives Grant for bicycle pedestrian improvements. In the summer of 2018, the Edison Township Planning Board adopted the Edison Township Open Space Plan as an element of the master plan. In September of 2018, the Green Acres program approved the open space plan. In this adopted plan, Mundy Avenue is shown as a location for a path or trail. It is clear that the township policy is to keep this corridor for a future path, and that it is in the best interest of the community to not vacate the street. I think all of those points are points that you should all be considering. There are numerous areas that have already approved that this is and should be a path and should not be used for anything other than a path. And given that it has been proved not only by Edison in its master plan, but by Green Acres, these are things that make it almost impossible, if not difficult, for you to try to do something else. So I don't understand why you're even trying to do anything at all other than what we've already said the path should be used for. I want to thank Councilman Bob Deal for having gotten in touch with the mayor, for his willingness to recommend that this be pulled from Wednesday's agenda, and that you seriously look at whatever you need to do to implement the proper use of this as has already been established both in our master plan and Green Acres. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Oyster. Anyone else?
Motion to
Council,
close the public portion.
one other thing. Council Vice President, I just want to tell Councilman Deal, I did talk to the mayor also today. And I guess he thought it was like part of the Greenway rather than a different walking trail.
Right.
Because he knows the properties are very wet in the back there.
Right.
And I think what would happen is some of the property would go to the neighbors that live
Right,
there. But
right.
if that's going to cut off the ability for these children to walk safely, we should probably look at that at the open space meeting, the next open space meeting, before we act on this, and I agree with you.
Yeah, we can have more conversation on it, but there are other places in town, around the schools. Woodbrook Elementary is a good example, where you have these paths between the houses or between the private residences where people can walk to the school.
I know where you're talking
Or bike to
about.
the school, and there's more than one. The piece of property we're talking about is pretty wide. You know, you don't need a path that is 60 or 90 feet wide. You need a path. So perhaps we can find the best utilization for this property in a compromise in that we put in the path that we need to put in for the cyclists, the pedestrians, the kids, and then the other property, we can figure out what to do.
And I think the paths that you're talking about over at Woodbrook were just paths that people beat down over the years just from walking through.
Some of it, but some
You
of
know.
it is paved, and some of it has macadam. So,
Right.
I saw concrete and macadam in areas.
Right.
And it makes sense.
Well,
It just makes sense.
It saves a lot of area for the children to walk. It's a quicker.
And it's safe, and we need
Right.
to maintain it.
Right. Thank you.
Councilman.
Thank you.
Motion to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the review of minutes from A to E. Any comments?
Council Vice President, I was not present on July 22nd.
Okay. Any other comments? None. Moving on to 2019 solid waste budget. Any question? It's a public hearing. None. Report from all council committees. I'll start with Councilman Coyle.
Council Vice President, I first want to thank the administration. Our beautification committee met several times on a flower planting along Amboy Avenue, and 2 weeks ago, we got a lot done. I want to thank the administration and Parks, Bill Thomas and Rich Montoro. We had a large planting, and we resoiled in areas throughout Amboy Avenue, and it was a great opportunity to get people out. We had several volunteers. I want to thank the public for coming out as well, and I think it was a tremendous success. We are working on 2 other locations, one in Bottomtown and also one on Silver Lake and off of Woodbridge Avenue. So very happy with the results of that. I have also from switching to the Environmental Commission, Councilman Deal and I was discussing some recycling opportunities. I left everyone a picture of some solar recycling bins, and I wanted to ask the administration to look into the process of a plan in the future, whether it's not the, I'm sorry I didn't leave you one morning, but I'll be sure to give you a free photo, to see if it can be placed in the budget for 2020, or if we can have a public-private partnership or a sponsor of one to try out as a pilot. Thank you. I have nothing further, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Dean.
Thank you, Council President. Just to announce that we do have a date for our next Committee of the Whole meeting. We've been trying to get a date sometime a little sooner, but vacation schedules and some other legal timelines have made that a little more difficult. Right now, our next Committee of the Whole meeting, because I want to let everybody know we are moving forward with this. The fact that our meeting was a couple of months ago does not mean that by any means that we are not going to pursue this. Our next Committee of the Whole meeting will be here in Council Chambers on Monday, September 30th at 6 p.m. So those of you interested in the Committee of the Whole, our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, September 30th at 6 p.m. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council Vice President, I just have a question to ask Councilman Deal. Councilman Deal, do we have any dates picked yet, because I know you're the liaison to the Education Committee, for another meeting with the school board?
No, we do not.
Okay, because I just have to address this. I normally don't like to go into this stuff, but I think at the last school board meeting, an individual, I'm not even going to mention his name, but he was called before the Committee of the Whole, and he had mentioned that we don't want to meet because of a lawsuit. And that would be the furthest thing from my mind, and I'm sure from your mind, that we would still want to meet to discuss the issues like security around the schools and other ongoing issues with the school board that we might have to deal with. So I don't know where he got that message from. I know I didn't give it to him. I don't think you gave it to him,
No.
right?
No.
And I just want facts out on the table, whether the guy's shooting his mouth off at a meeting, saying things that aren't true. He could come here, maybe he could testify at the same time. you
Right.
know?
Yes, Councilman, they have not reached out. I did hear the same thing, that at a Board of Education meeting, it was stated that there was a reluctance because of the lawsuit that we were refusing to meet. That is absolutely not true. The lawsuit did turn out to be dismissed, as I understand it, okay? I will tell you that I never agreed with the premise of the lawsuit anyway. I thought it was a waste of money. I think that became evident, it being dismissed, but that is certainly not a reason, nor should it have been stated that that was a reason why a committee meeting wasn't held. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna chime in on that too. It was, I think it's pretty ridiculous that the school board president would make hearsay-based derogatory comments against the entire council. And my point for this is simple. At the end of the day, we're all elected officials. And we can, even when some of us are disagreeing at the height of our disagreements, we can still pick up the phone and talk to each other. So I talk to plenty of board members on the school board. So if someone's going to make a comment, feel free to reach out to any of us. It's pretty simple. I mean, no one wants to hear, the public doesn't want to hear this kind of commotion. It's pretty unnecessary. If we can just get straight to the point, whatever issue they have, reach out. We're quite easily accessible.
And it's counterproductive.
Yes, it's very counterproductive.
The two main problems with the statement: number one, it's inaccurate. That's not what happened. And number two, it's unfair. It's unfair to the council it's unfair to the public to put that out there like that and spread that type of false information. It's inaccurate and it's unfair. Thank you, Council President.
And it doesn't accomplish anything at all.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Sandusky?
None, sir, at this time.
Councilman Lombardi?
None, sir, thank you.
Councilman Joshi?
The library board did not meet in August. There was a little bit of confusion on that. We don't have a meeting in August, but we'll be meeting again in September. And the facilities committee did meet within the library board, and we're pretty excited about some of the things that we're going to be putting forward. So pay attention to the next library board meeting.
Thank you, Councilman. And I have none. Going on to the points of lights. Next council meeting is a combined meeting on Monday, September 9, 2019 at 6 p.m. September 10th is a special election. September 11 is 911 memorial service at Lake Papiani at 6:30 p.m. September 28th is a fall family spectacular on Amboy Avenue from Jackson Avenue to Waltuma starting at 11 a.m. and Saturday 31st August from 11 to 4 at Elensis Park, Military and Veterans Family Day. Any other council member would like to add any point of law?
Council Vice President, I just want to comment, the Edison Chamber of Commerce had a festival the month of August, and it was a tremendous success. I just want to thank the administration for the cooperation and coordination, and also the police and the police auxiliary, and the fire department, and DPW. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay. Moving on to the items from the business administrator from A to E. Any comment?
Council Vice President,
Yes, Councilman.
I just wanted to discuss the rental of the storage area. It's $8,911 a month, I believe, for 35. Is there a point where we won't be doing, I believe this is the third year I'm aware of on the council where we've been doing this. And can you walk me through why we're not looking at building a building or having some type of overhang? Is this,
We are, the next resolution right underneath that is hiring the architectural firm to draw up the plans for the garage.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. From the Department of Finance for line item A through G, any comment? None. From the Department of Health, from A to C. Any comment? None. From the Department of Law.
Council President,
Yes.
pursuant to our earlier conversation, I would request that item A be tabled. I don't know if we could do that now, or it has to wait till Wednesday. I figured
We could remove it now.
We could remove it now, yeah.
Right, now, and I'm going to second that, because of the conversation we had earlier, and to feel the, the need to look at this further. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Deal and Councilman Lombardi. So we'll not be introducing this ordinance. Thank you. I'll be off there.
Council Vice President, I have a question on item F, I'm sorry, L. The authorizing an agreement with Edmonds and Associates for the purpose of data migration relating to certain water utilities accounts. Maureen, do you know what that is?
Yes, that's another portal for our financial software to handle the water utility payments that'll come in.
That will be taking on board, right?
Correct.
If in the event the referendum passes, right? And then I guess that's under engineering, the Mom McDonald part of this, we're going to hire them to see if we're in compliance with
To see where we are with the Water Quality Act.
with the Water Quality Act, right? But that's going to be an ongoing expense
It
every
will
year,
be.
right? It's going to change, right? Because that's not going to bring us into compliance. That'll just see if we are in compliance with what we
Correct.
have now,
And,
right?
and what we discover, we'll have to make the repairs or do GIS mapping, or there's a whole.
And all of those will be assessed to the people of South Edison, right? And the
Correct.
Edison Water Company? Okay, thank you.
Yes, related to item M, I'm excited about this ordinance. This is something that I had brought up last year, and I think this is overall going to be an excellent ordinance, not just because I worked on it, but I also worked on it with Mr. Northgrave, Mr. Baggia, and the mayor as well for the set-aside program, but I'd like to discuss it later on. I'm glad that we finally figured out the language of this. This was almost a year in the works, so I'm very excited about discussing this further later on.
Sam, I have a question for you, for M, since you're up to speed on this. Does this cover every minority? When you say Asian, it's Korean, it's Chinese, it's
Correct.
everybody?
Correct.
It's all inclusive?
Yes.
Right? So any minority that's out there will have an opportunity to bid on this?
Yes, and it's actually, so there's two parts to it. You have to be qualified, you have to have your qualification through the state. So you have to be a registered business as a minority, like through the state license.
Right.
Or state approval, as well as with women and veterans. It's not like a random veteran can just claim that they're a veteran, or a random minority can claim. They have to have their approval from the state that they are a designated minority. So it's more than 51%.
But I want to make sure we're not excluding like a Filipino
Yeah, it's
contractor.
all- it's-
I want to
it's-
make sure that everybody's in there. That we're
Correct.
just not doing part of it.
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's through the state. And the other part about this, since you brought it up, that's good about this, is not only does it designate it for minorities, women, and veteran-owned businesses that are 51% majority-owned, they have to have their state approval, and on top of that, the township is also protected. The township is also protected because the state law of lowest qualified bidder would have precedence too. So it's not like the township would be at a loss.
So we have to pay them more
Yeah,
just because they're
we
minority?
We
Okay.
wouldn't have to pay them more. We do get that benefit.
We see that doesn't always work to our advantage with the parks, right? Okay, so that might not be a bad thing,
Yeah.
but we have to follow the law.
Correct. And I'll elaborate on this probably at the next meeting, just not now. But like I said, this was a year in the works, and I'm very excited about discussing this further.
Yeah, this is a good ordinance, the covering the wide range of, I think the qualified minorities, women and veteran, the business. And I'm pretty sure this is more consistent with the state law, the current state laws.
Correct.
And expands locally.
Yes, so right now, there are counties that have this law in effect, and the Port Authority of New Jersey also has this in effect. They have it at a 20% ratio, but they haven't been able to meet, or 20% guideline, they haven't been able to reach that, so I thought that 5% was more appropriate. And we're going to be one of the first municipalities in New Jersey that does this. It's really a county-based and Port Authority. It's more so on a state level or a large level, but this is a pretty exciting ordinance for a municipality.
Thank you.
Council President?
Yes, go.
With regard to item G, I know this has been a few years in the works too. We've been talking about improvements to the Oak Tree Road Bridge for quite some time now, and I'm happy to see that we finally got an agreement. Do we know when the work will begin yet? Okay, that's all I had, thank you.
And it'll probably help us with our sight distance when we're coming out of Harding, too. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the Department of Planning and Engineering.
Council Vice President, I just want to go through a few here. The first one to the administration is the grant from Millennium Strategies. This is the same group we've had in the past, correct? Would I be able to receive their history of grant approvals prior to voting on Wednesday? Okay, thank you. And also, the Mott McDonald contracting here. Could you walk me through, I have here, they're going to be contracted for $165,200 for this service. And if there's anybody else on the council who's aware of it as well, please educate me. So what exactly, and also it says there's a detail proposal attached, which I don't have present with me at this time.
You want me to get you a copy of that? And then if you have any questions, we can talk about it Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean, actually,
Because it's 4 pages. I don't
yes, no
think you want
problem.
me to read it
I'd
out.
like to ask the council, we could hold off on this, if anybody has comments. It's a large amount of money for what they're doing, and I just would want some detail.
This part, we cannot hold off on this. We're already behind on timelines. This is a requirement of the DEP. I know we're not in compliance, so I need to get working on this no matter what.
I won't argue with the compliance issue. My point to the council vice president is that I just want to be aware of what they're doing for this amount. It's $165,000.
Yep, I'll have that to
And
you.
I'm well aware of the compliance, and I get that point. It's a lot of money to spend, and I want to know exactly what they're doing, considering what we may be taking on. 1 second here, too.
Council Vice President, Maureen, this is part of the town taking over the water and the sewer, right? That's what this is all about, right?
Well, yes, but every town, whether you have it or not, we're still obligated to make sure that
Well, no,
this
that
act
we're
is
in-
complied with, no
Right.
matter who's doing it.
Right, so if
Part of
this,
the extension, what with New Jersey American was not this component, so this falls on us no matter what happens.
so we have to do this every year no matter what.
Correct.
And then the other one that we're doing for compliance with the Clean Water Act is an additional.
No, that's what
This is the same
he's
thing?
referring to,
Okay,
yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Council Vice President, on this same subject point, did we do this last year? Did we pay this amount last year?
We did not, because at that time, New Jersey American was handling it. This new extension did not include this component of it.
So this is our first time doing it with Mott
The
McDonald.
Township of Edison, yes.
I just want a clarification on that. As much as I do believe we're in time crunches, rushing is not the solution I'm looking for, and $165,000 is a lot of money. And going back to the Edmonds, can you walk me through what they're doing there for the data?
Edmunds is our financial reporting system, so we have it for the sewer utility, and we have it for all taxes in the current fund and the garbage district to receive water payments. That's the portal that we have to purchase from Edmunds.
And what is that exact amount for that?
Is it on the, no? Someday.
And is this the first time they're doing this data
It's the first time
since we're going to be,
for the water utility, yes.
okay. I'm satisfied. I'll just wait to get the
The proposal?
attachment from Mott McDonald. And if there's any detail with what they're doing for the data, I know, understand that's something absolutely necessary. I just want to see what they're doing and where we'll be, if we are independent and the referendum does pass, I just want to know exactly what steps we're taking and that we're not overstepping things that need to be done in compliance. That's all I have on this right now, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? We got the Department of Planning and Engineering from A to G.
Council President?
Yes, Councilman.
With regard to item B, in reading the resolution, I couldn't figure out where this was going to and what they were bidding on. All it said was case 119. It didn't really give a location or a description of the work that was going to be performed. If I could just get that before Wednesday. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council Vice President. Item G. Could engineering walk me through exactly this change order for the Capesto Park, an additional $12,000? And how is this condition allowed and not be a part of the original bid?
This item was identified on the site with our inspectors. Basically, it's been identified that drainage in the area could be greatly improved by the addition of this wall. And prevent runoff and stabilize the park. The original scope of services that was delineated for this project focused solely on the replacement of the park's equipment, and improvement of drainage and so forth wasn't a part of the original scope of services. It became very evident, during construction, that this would be a great improvement to the quality of that park, and that is why it is suggested.
The problem I have is that it's obvious that the pre-existing conditions of the slope or anything that's there is understood when you're making this installation. I'm just surprised that someone who's been doing this for a living wouldn't anticipate that. And then we give them a hardship to pay this additional cost. And it's $12,000 is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money indeed. It is appropriate for the amount of additional work that is being contemplated. And, there is always ways when you're doing projects to improve them. And when you put projects out to bid, you have to cut the scope off and put it in a package that's easily bid. There's always ways to improve projects, and there's always ways to also increase the cost. In this case, it was an aspect that we felt really added value to this park. And yes, the amount of cost is additional, but the amount of work is commensurate with that additional cost.
So a quick question. Drainage was not a part of the original scope of the first bid?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Council Vice President.
Thank you, Councilman. Moving on to the Department of Public Works, from A to E.
Yes, I have a question with A. I had looked at the cost, I just simply Googled the Groundmaster 4000 rotary mower and the 1410 rotary mower from Store Tractor, and each one came out to less than 30 to 40,000. So I just wanted to know, why is this so much higher?
I have to ask purchasing. You can Google anything. I have to look at the model and I know she looked this up. It's through a co-op.
Okay.
One's like $89,000 and one's 66.
Okay, yeah, if we could just have an answer
Sure.
by Wednesday. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council Vice President.
Yes, Councilman.
B, the check valves, am I getting that right? Check valves for the pump stations. Is this through a contractor we're doing the installation of that? And if not, who's making the decision that we need these check valves? And
Yes, it is for the Raritan Group, and our sewer supervisor, Mike Waldron, would be.
so we just pay them, we buy the part, they install it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
No, Council Vice President, thank you.
Moving on to the Chief of Police, from A to C. And from Department of Recreation, Resolution A. From Township Clerk, Resolution A.
Council President, Vice President, could she elaborate on, it's been rescinded, this liquor license? Can you walk me through that, please?
Yes, it's a pocket license that was on the renewal by mistake on the resolution that was passed for other renewals, so I'm only rescinding this one because they have to wait for a special ruling from the state.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, from Council Member of Planning Board, Councilman Sindus.
Yes, thank you, Council Vice President. The Edison Township Planning Board meeting of August 19th, 2019, the following resolutions were passed. P12, 2019 FedEx Ground Package System, 25-53 Talmadge Road. P2, 2017 amended Camp Kilmer Urban Renewal Associates Road 2. Area needed redevelopment, 1696 Oak Tree Road, JK Estates. And an area needed redevelopment, 1820 Vineyard Road, Mandy's. The new cases that we heard were P 5214 Goldberg Builders, 45 Preston Street, Block 161U, Lot 14C, was a proposal to demolish an existing garage and home and construct 3 new single-family homes. Variance requested for lot width of 2 lots, required 75 feet, proposed 70 feet, Lot 14.04 and 14.05. All lots are in excess of the 7,500 square feet required. I think they were like 10,000 square feet each. The application was to be continued on October 15th, 2019. I asked the engineer where the catch basin was, and he didn't know where it was. So they're gonna check into that, and they're going to also do a perk test on the property. And so there will be no further notice on that, October 15th, 2019. P 14, 2019, Federal Business Centers, 140 Fieldcrest Avenue, Block 390D, Lot 9.A. Proposal to construct a 74,012 square feet addition, 40 parking stalls and 19 loading docks to an existing warehouse. No variances were requested. The existing building is 59,692 square feet, so the new building will be 133,704. The applicant will contribute 170 trees to the Edison Tree Fund. The project was approved with the following conditions. The applicant will adhere to the engineer and planner's reports. No outside parking will be allowed from other tenants. Any changes to the approved plans will require applicant to come back before the board, and the project was approved unanimously. The last case that we heard was P18, 2019, Edison Land Investment, Route 1, the former Ford plant in the Harts Mountain site, Block 198.L, Lot 37.09, a proposal to construct a new 2,300 square foot Chipotle's restaurant. No variances were requested. The subdivided new property will consist of 0.21 acres. The single-story building will have 55 seats, including outdoor patio. The hours of operation will be 10:45 a.m. to 10 p.m. There will be 9 to 11 employees per shift. A motion was made for preliminary and final approval conditioned on adherence to our professional engineer and planner's reports, and then if any changes are made or to the approved plans, they will come back before the board. And that was my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any question from council members? We'll go on to the discussion items. Start with Councilman Coy.
Council Vice President, I know we brought up parks, to the administration, Capestrel Park, I know we've had several complaints there. Is there an update on the email I sent, which was sent to me by Brett Baker, and the videos? Is there an explanation to the problems going on there?
Yes, that's related to what I was discussing earlier with, partially. Some of the items that were described in there were graffiti and things like that. That's not a part of the contract, dealing with those types of items. However, the other items described in that email, one of them was runoff and soil tracking. That would be, with the addition of this wall, would help assist the drainage and address that item. Also, some of just the general items around the site need to be completed by the contractor under the existing contract, and the contractor is aware of these outstanding items. Those items were specifically forwarded to him today, and we will be discussing those items along with all the other outstanding items of the contractor tomorrow.
Thank you. Moving forward, I had discussion a few times with Carl O'Brien in regards to Edmund Street, and we're supposed to meet with the DOT. Any update on that?
Yes, the DOT finally responded after many communications. Bear with me one second, let me pull out the report. We were advised by the DOT that the striping was completed in this area on or about 8/7/19, so August 7th, 2019. The striping in the area of Edmund Street was completed.
I had a complaint today, and I had an email for that as well, which I'll forward to you. And Ms. Spearnock reached out to me that the striping's been done, however, it's corralling the cars to get off at Edmond. There was part of the plan, or the suggestion was to have a clear sign that's Edmond Street. So if that can be looked into through the police department, I'm not sure what is allowed or necessary to spill off traffic. They know that it's Edmond Street.
I'll coordinate with the DOT. If the sign's within a certain area, it's something that we would have to request of the DOT because it's not municipal property.
Thank you. Also, through the administration, I brought up a gas station that I've been talking about since 1995. You're not doing anything wrong. Obviously, we've been pestering this particular gas station. And I know Jay's well aware of it. I guess the question I have before Jay speaks is, where do we just take a responsibility, just take over it, cut it, make them pay for it? It's continuous, the graffiti. I mean, I got at least a lifetime of emails, and I know we're doing everything we can, but there's just not enough periodic catch-up with this location, and he's left his property abandoned. He has an approval, and he's sitting on it. I'm curious, where do we stand to take a more aggressive approach? He has no interest in developing the property. He's holding on to the approval. It's been sitting there. It's an eyesore. And where do we take it apart to either have the building demolished and plant grass, or take it upon ourselves that we're going to maintain it and just bill him? So I'm waiting for the answer.
Agreed, Councilman. We've had this property remediated, graffiti painted over, as you said, litter cleaned up, broken glass over the years. I think the simple answer here is to effectively, through the court mechanism, is effectively to make it more expensive to keep it that way than it is to do something about it. So we're going to do that through summonses and effectively make it to the point where if he pays several thousand downstairs, he'll have to make an assessment to say maybe it's worthwhile to make the building go away.
Yeah, I mean, if he's agreed to hire a contractor, a landscaper, I mean, today, the volunteers and the beautification committee have been cleaning up the litter. They've been cutting his grass. It's an eyesore. If anybody was to walk through it, if a child was to walk through there, it has different holes in the pavement. There's a neighboring property that's right behind it with children. I just don't know where. I just wanted,
Well, I think that's the simple answer. Effectively, is just to use what's available to us, and effectively just, whether it's on a weekly basis, a daily basis, whatever, and effectively just make it cost to a point where the price point is it's too expensive to leave it the way it is.
okay, thank you, Jay. Thank you through the administration. The other question I had too is, I didn't discuss the solid waste budget. I know that was on for our public hearing. Is there anything about the budget we've changed? Could someone just walk me through?
Is exactly the same as it was last year, 0.22.
Okay. That's all I have for now, Vice President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman D.
Thank you, sir. I know I spoke to Carl about this last time. I'm looking for an update on where we are with the easements between Calvert and Abbott, that area. Can I get an update on where we are with that?
Wednesday, I'll have that for you.
Okay, thank you.
I have to check with legal.
Okay, thank you.
That's it, Councilman.
I'm sorry, Councilman. Yes, that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Joshi?
Yes, there are a few things. The first, with Reeder Road, there was a pile of dirt that's behind Reeder Road. I had mentioned this to the DPW director because the residents were complaining that it's a township-owned property, but when the dirt piles up, I guess it's where we've stored dirt, and whenever it rains, there ends up being a lot of bugs that end up. It's so close to their neighbors. If you could just look into that. They told me that they did put in a service request for it.
Okay.
That's the first thing. We touched on parks. Inman and Grove, there was a couple of seniors that had told me that their light was out at the senior, at that intersection right near the senior, okay. Do you know if it was fixed, or is it?
No, it's in the process.
Okay.
I'm getting a quote from the company right now.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, Cinder Road. Between Minebrook and Cinder Road, I'm told on the weekends, there seems to be a lot of traffic.
I sent a letter to the police chief after we spoke.
Okay, so, yeah, I don't know if if the solution is having a police officer there or perhaps putting a do not block sign. I was just told right before walking into the meeting that sometimes it's also people that just randomly park there. Maybe putting a do not block sign would work.
Okay.
Let's see, and, oh, the last thing, trees. I posted on Facebook, in regards to the Amazon, as we know, is burning. It's been burning for 3 weeks now. And I had suggested, since we have a tree fund, and we've never tapped into that fund, and it has approximately $300,000 in it, and we can only use trees, why not start planting trees? And to my own surprise, there were, between Instagram, Facebook, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and Tata Consultancy employees, there's approximately over 120, 130 volunteers, all in one day, that said that they would like to take part in tree planting through the tree fund. So I wanted to know, and I know that we can only plant trees in public spots. I wanted to know if there's a timeline on what that process would entail. How can we, how soon can we do this? There's a lot of energy. 100. I couldn't believe how many volunteers signed up for it.
I already wrote to legal to
Okay.
give me an opinion on what you and I were discussing, so I should have an answer in a couple days.
Okay, perfect. So I'll get back to you. And if anyone else wants to volunteer, I guess just, I know you do, Maria, just reach out, I guess, through Facebook. It's probably the easiest way.
Yep. I think Councilman Joshi, it's a great idea, but again, through Councilman Deal, I think it will be an idea for the open space to consider.
Sure, give us some ideas. The consideration is, because there are times, we kind of ebb and flow with this a little bit. There are times where we have a location for the trees, and we have the money and we put in the trees. And there are other times when we don't. There seems to have been a lull in light of the recent worldwide events, especially the rainforest burning. Now everyone's concerned about the trees on the earth. It's a great idea. I love the energy. The one thing that we always, though, have to remember is that putting in a tree is that you just don't put it in and you walk away. Some of these trees take 5 years before they actually take, and they need watering constantly. And a lot of times what happens, and it breaks my heart every time when you see a nice line of trees and they're all brown because they put them in and walked away and no one watered them. So there's two parts to it. There's several parts, I guess, but certainly not only putting them in the ground, but caring for them for a period of time longer than a couple years. And then when they're finally taking, you can kind of give them less care. But great idea. I'm with you 100% on it, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman.
No, that's all for me.
Councilman Lombardi.
I just want to add on to Councilman Deal before he starts about the trees. 170 trees on that warehouse, they're going to contribute to the tree fund. So there's 170, Sam, you could put into to get going. All right.
Thank you.
Start digging.
Councilman Lombardi.
Thank you, Council President. Maureen and/or Mike from engineering, we received an email complaint with regard to the trains at the Inman, on Hinman Road, in terms of the
horn
whistle,
blowing.
the horn blowing. Based upon the email, they have contacted a gentleman from Conrail who said that they can't fix the signal until Edison gives them authorization to do so.
Yeah, that's a fib, but,
I figured as much, but.
actually, we had the vendor out there. We have to get all our township, the vendor, which there's one in the state that fixes these kind of repairs, and Conrail themselves. So it's kind of been just running around getting the 3 entities. They went out there, we got the all clear today. The last leg of it was Conrail to go out and check, and thank God I didn't send every email to everybody saying everything's perfect, because when Conrail went out, they found another little glitch, which they assure me, supposedly it'll be fixed by tomorrow afternoon. Then it takes anywhere up to 24 to 48 hours to notify all the conductors to get the whistles to stop, so hopefully
By the end of the week.
by the end of the week. But as soon as I get that okay, I'll email the council, and we've been keeping in contact with everybody that's been writing to us about it.
Okay.
And they've really been pretty patient, because this has been going on for a while, so.
And then also, I wanted to report, and I know that I briefly mentioned it at the mayor's budget presentation back on July 29th, but the Board of Freeholders is voting on the contract to purchase the Ferrante property to preserve as open space on September 19th. They have indicated that, and I don't know if you got it already, Maureen, but they're going to send out the grant and the conservation restriction agreement to us. I don't know if we got it? Okay. And they have also indicated to Deputy Director Tamaro that not this year, but possibly next year, there's a chance that we could still get the Shea property. And I know that Mr. Stoschel emailed me not too long ago and said that he's also investigating some funding from it's called the American Battlefield Trust, to see if he could possibly get some funding towards the purchase of the Shea property as well. They're contiguous properties, so if we can get both the Ferrante property and the Shea property, that would be approximately 25 acres of open space that we could preserve. So it's a good thing that they're voting on the Ferrante property on September 19th, and hopefully next year, or with the help of Mr. Stoschel and the American Battlefield Trust, possibly sooner, we can look into the Shea property. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Sandusky.
Yeah, thank you, Council Vice President. Couple questions for Mike. I know, Mike, I had addressed this before with you. The Kenmore Road cleaning out of the easement, you're going to look into that and see where we are, what the status of that is?
Yes, it's my understanding that the contractor was to issue those notices, but I'll look at the confirmation regarding those notices for Wednesday.
And you're going to get me the update completion dates for the park, or what we're projecting for Wednesdays too, right?
Yes, I already sent that email.
Okay. Also, Jay, a couple things for you. How are we doing with the tarped house on Oak Tree Road? People are asking me about it. How long is it going to stay like that? So.
Well, there's been a change, actually. The individuals we dealt with that we actually fined, they've lost the house. The bank has foreclosed upon the house. The good news is that the bank is actually going to move forward to take it down.
Oh, good.
But we actually had the previous owner in court this previous Wednesday, because they still had outstanding. We fined them even after they sold the property, because the violation existed, when they did own the property.
Right.
So they were levied fines this past Wednesday. But they did bring in paperwork to show that the bank has actually taken ownership of it. The sheriff has served them, and the intention of the bank is not to rehab the house. They're going to tear it down and effectively just sell the property.
So they're going to get the demo permits and do all of that?
Yep. I'll try and get a better idea on timeline.
Keep us posted. The other thing is, and we talked about it a little today, about that property on James Street. Every year, it seems like we got to go talk to this guy where they were going to put the medical center there on James Street, and it's overgrown again, and it's got some concrete pipe, big pipe stuff on it, and it's got weeds that are like 7 or 8 feet high on it. It's just an absolute eyesore, and every year we got to get after them.
I'll reach out to him tomorrow morning and find out if there's any kind of timeline for development of this property, and then
Right.
obviously have the property cleaned up.
Okay, thank you for that. And then I know Bill's not here today. I had some questions for him on if the sewer referendum is passed, but I'll wait till the next meeting to get into that. But I did talk to Maureen today about the Monday the Mount McDonald stuff, and what the cost is going to be, the increase in the water rates for the people in the south end that are going to have the new water system. And Maureen, just roughly, you have any idea whether it's going to be 50, 60, 70, 80%? You're not going to go out there, huh? Okay, but it's going to be an increase. It'll be over 50%, okay. All right, I just want the people to know what they're going to be in for, the 12,278 people. And 9,722 of them are not seniors, and there's 1,128 commercial customers out there. So they're going to be in for a little shock if that referendum passes. The other thing is, I talked about it with Councilman Deal, the school board meeting. I think we should try and reach out to them and see if we can get a meeting together, just to discuss safety and the school's opening. And like Maria Orchid said, people are driving very fast around town, and they need to know that the schools are opening and the children are going to be walking on these streets in a couple of weeks. So we have to be mindful of that. Also for Maureen, I know last year we had a temporary heating system for Minnieville. What's happening with the new heating system for Minnieville?
Since I just took over DPW, I'm actually looking at that right now.
Okay, could you find out for
Yep.
me and let me know? And then I'd like to thank Tim Alexander for getting the stop bars by the Edison Tower, where we had the stop signs on by the Edison Tower. Because people were blowing through the stop signs there, and I really appreciate him taking care of that in the DPW. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Maureen, a couple of things from me before I like Mr. Coyle to cover the last item. The paving schedule. Are we on schedule or there is any change?
Actually, I think we're just a week in. So we should be putting it up on the website every week, the updates. That's my direction so far.
Okay, thank you for that update. Jackson Avenue truck traffic. This is the ongoing issue. It's a discussion. Do we know, Mike or anyone, Maureen?
I'll talk to the police department. We'll have a report Wednesday.
Thank you, because the school will be starting soon, and this is the area of concern there. That's it. Councilman Coyle?
Council Vice President, I had a discussion with Councilman Lombardi in regards to a photo I left each one of you for Hometown Heroes. I understand it's been, the administration has always had street dedications for our veterans, and we also have recognized those caretakers who take care of our veterans. This has been done in other communities. I've heard this from several council people in the past. I think it's a great opportunity to at least research the flow of who we would nominate. I had a good discussion with Councilman Lombardi, who serves on the Veterans Committee, so I would hope that we can look into this. I don't expect to have an answer right away because there is a flow of who would be recognized, but I thought it would be a great opportunity in some areas that where we have posts and flags, including Amboy Avenue or other nearby destinations that could serve and hold a flag. The pole flag that you see in the photo I sent you.
Thank-
It's only comments I had there. And I also want to change subjects back to Mott McDonald, to the administration. Aside from reviewing the proposal, if I can have a separate meeting just to, I understand in our time constraint, I am not here to hold it up, but if I can just have an understanding of what they'll be doing as far as that, and I wouldn't mind also understanding the data compliance, just so that we're fully prepared. I believe the referendum is going to pass just by default in the nature of the organic way this came about. So I just want to make sure we're taking every step needed to control what needs to be done and that we're in full compliance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Coyle. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.